The thing about advanced alien societies, groupings, is that they see energy. And the energy they see is primarily the energy around their bodies, you know, the golden orb, which will show you. And in order to learn to see, they have 3 modes. You know, the first mode is peace. Like if they have this before they go to bed, but don't go to sleep, it quiets and soothes their psyche and their vibrations. The second one is order. And when things are in order, there are compulsives for order and for reason, and they want logic and so on and so forth. And so once order is established, they can relax. And when they relax, they can learn. Right? And the third one is excitement. Excitement or agitation is the third mode. You know? The passion, the activity, and so on and so forth is all like engaged, right? The excitement, and it leads to exhaustion. And when they're exhausted, they can learn. Everything relaxes, and you know they can learn to see. So, the second thing besides the golden orb around the human body, the alien bodies, is the millions and millions of tiny fishes just that exist as vibrations around the body. You have billions of little fishes that are tucking behind each other and reflect off a wavelength of color, you know, as they do that, all going toward a glowing plate-like thing behind the back that streams of them interrelate to. Unfortunately, it's impossible to paint this, to make chemicals do this exactly. And the third one is the aura that, say, the underground alien cultures experience, which is with their eyes shut, they can see auras and so on, so they don't need light in their underground caves. And you can even see their eyelids are thin and so on and so forth. Another thing is that in advanced alien cultures, you'll notice in groupings, you'll see that their hands are rather weak. That's because, like here, we're using chemistry. It's too delicate, the spheres are too cosmic, you know, and molecular and atomic to have a hand intervention. The hand is too crude, just like is happening more and more with electronics and computers and so on. So these are the auras near the body, and if you ran these in negative, you would see pretty much what the underground aliens see, and so on. And they can tell diseases and so on, and states of being from the aspects of these energies that move around near the skin, a few inches from the body. Here's one that's divided in the middle, just below the heart, and so on and so forth. But you can see the direction of the will is to relink. So before its death reaches it, and it goes through the gap and sucks it into the ego's, the end of the material body, whatever you call it, you know, it's going to save itself, right? While this one that's floating and is cut off from the ground is probably doomed. Its mind is scattered, you know, its lower parts are turgid to a certain extent and rigid, and so on and so forth. And the same thing here, with the head divided from the body, can survive longer than this one, but it's probably doomed also because it's separating rather than getting together like this one. Here's one that looks healthy, and yet it's floating off the ground. It's got all kinds of like things that are there, like perching places, and that's right. It's a bird. It's not a human aura. You know, you could tell by the coloring. It's more greenish than it is golden. The hue is different. And from the fish, billions of fish vibrations down to this level where they take shape and form, you know, it carries that with them. So, we want to see like a healthy aura, right? And here I'm using an example of a healthy aura. All of the little dots and things are things like communications that go out and are healthy if they have a solid thing. The thing that's unusual about this one is it's got the golden glow above, and below also. So this person is probably going to reproduce, and it's well integrated up and down with a lot of interest, complex shapes. So this covers like a few things about pedagogical methods of alien cultures and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you here like this is an example of a triptych of people who are self-involved, people whose beings, alien beings who are unevolved and are thinking inside themselves in cave-like orifices, and so particularly in this one and this one. This is more vague and liberated and yet tied together by root-like forms and so on, and is probably a better situation than these that can get lost in what they call the second attention, that is the flight of the dream body, into other dimensions. So, the other day, 4 young aliens worked on this one with me. I had to show them something about the chemical sequencing and patterning sequencing, right? And they were rather spontaneous. There was a 5th one in the primary bubble, husk, sending us messages and so on. So what I noticed was the image that came out was the young alien as well as alien human mirrors of reflection. Their self-image they're very concerned with. And also the scary things they see and whatnot. You see them going to movies, the unknown. It causes them trepidation and so on, right? So it seemed that their influence, besides the more scattering and so on, was influential there. Now, these energies, which are fundamentally the same with all organic life and technology and so on and so forth in its arrangement, all these energies, the auric bodies connecting with each other. And here it's showing, here's a more central one, and here's the golden orb one in the east. And, it shows the various connections going through other shadow realms and entry realms and other kinds of beings, organic beings, rock beings, and so on and so forth. And this is known as the novel party among those students of the alien advanced cultures that have formed secret societies on Earth. Many of them have. Most of them have forgotten the secrets or rigidified them. And I was pointing out to my video guy here, my team, that the rigidifying of the rituals and the losing of the truth of the rituals, like the word novel, which is the same as something like the crests or the totems or so on, or an animal that's your friend when you're young, because you're incomplete. You need communication. So this, as a novel party, is the technology of the artwork, because the ideas in the teaching method get attached to the technology of the outlay of the chemistry of the materials in the surfaces obtainable or convenient, or lasting, and so on and so forth. So in a way, this may, stripping us of all of our unadvanced secret societies and earth religions, this is like the new era with the internet now linking in the knowledge of energy, bodies, and energy and its relation between technology and human consciousness and disciplines You know, you're studying in a quartz crystal the inner factions of quartz crystal is a good practice to registering the higher kinds of, subtle kinds of light that prepare you, for instance, to see the millions of fishes around the human body just inside the golden glow, you know, and so on and so forth. So, you know, these are procedures, but they're not ritualistic procedures. In our day, they become, hey, when you get it together, when you have the time, when you've read the proper background material, etc., or met the proper people, you know, you like make progress, you know, in this, you know, energy registration form or its relation to these formulas from a book or so on and so forth. This is the only way we could do it now because there's so much information and there's so many pressures on people, you know. It's been a slave society where people have cut off people from knowledge and from learning and from any discipline but the discipline of production of the machine for sales or arms or so on and so forth, you know, or taxes and so on. So that's a pervasive reality that has to be dispelled and is being dispelled gradually. So he's going to video some of these paintings, and you can figure out their relation to energy forms, you know, on your own, as you choose, you know. It's pretty, some of them are pretty obvious. That's not the best mirror one. That's unpaintable, so it's just scratched in on a transparent surface, and when it arrives on Earth in the womb of the woman, you know, the polarity, the ultimate polarity is emanating like into the golden sphere that you saw earlier. And so I just made this object. I don't know if it's even registerable, but in a way it's so subtle that this is pretty good, and probably better than some of those colored extravaganzas. You see what I mean about getting too much blacks? They start to become dragons and alligators and things like that, right? Big demons like biting and eating and chewing, you know, insatiable hungers and whatnot, you know, which in a way is dramatic and fits in with Hollywood's view of the aliens, but, you know, it's not the reality that I like to... This is one of my favorites, you know. This is like an Indian sitting in the mountains staring at the bridge into the clouds and so on and so forth, right? Very obscure, but very... Well, ones like this are very on the surface, you know, and the shading of the colors into each other is something that shouldn't happen with traditional materials, but happens. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Even some of these smaller ones that were easier to do because of the chemistry thing, right? You know, if you drew an eyedropper from a hypodermic needle, right, it's a certain size and it spreads a certain amount. And you start, as you get bigger and bigger, you start to multiply them, and it means less and less. Well, when they're small, one will do, or a little underlying mopping with a paper towel or something, methyl alcohol, you know. So, see, I was going to talk off These are not good to photograph. This one, this is one of my favorites. Do you photograph this one already? Speaking of vibrations, if you come close to that part, yeah, vibrational arrival. You see that? It's almost like the vibrations that would form a human bone, alien bone of their body or something, huh? Yeah, so compositionally and chromatically and reflectively, like the technique and so on, I think this is one of the best ones. This is one. But other people would choose other ones. I know I've had paintings before, like Bob went nuts over some that or my daughter. She took one, I gave her a present of one that I just made. At the same time, I made this soft one. That was for young women's bedrooms to calm them down or something, for them studying yoga and whatnot. And it was all confused and superficial and frenetic, and that's what she liked, you know. So who can figure, right? People like what reflects their preoccupations, you know.